Hi, WFMers out there. I'm your host, Irina Mateeva, and this is WFM Unfiltered, a podcast by WFM, the place where we share the truth about workforce management. So get comfortable and listen closely. Hi, everyone, and welcome to WFM Unfiltered, the podcast by WFM. I'm your host, Irina Mateeva, and we have incredible and very interesting topic today in relation to HR being in the way of WFM. My guest is incredible and she has so much knowledge. And today we're traveling to the Midlands in the UK. So I cannot wait to introduce you to Marianne.
Hey, Irina. I'm very excited about our conversation, especially after the other day. I think we could have gone on for hours and we must meet up very soon.
Yeah, just to let everyone know what happened, Marianne and I had a catch up actually a couple of days ago. So we ended up chatting for I don't know how long, but it was such a therapeutic ranty session that we said, you know what, we're absolutely changing the topic of today's conversation to mirror our rant. And we're going to be talking about HR sometimes being in the way of WFM and resource management. But before that, Marianne, I'm so impressed by your knowledge and your background. So I have to ask you to introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Marianne Withers. I'm the managing director of the Verity Centre. Very grand title because I'm the least important and here to support and guide everyone else within the company. But my background goes, oh God, such a long time over the years that being in outsourcing and also being on the client side. And, if I have a look at all the different types of things that I've done, from being the whole channel partner for British Gas and managing 11 sites, which was like 5 B2B companies and 5 B2C companies and 3 B2B companies, but over the 11, from being sales and marketing director for a global corporate business gifts company to the fact of being on the outsourcing side itself and God working for the listing company and heading up their site in Portsmouth, which was 1,100 people for 3 years. And then going back to them as their consultant to help their kind of buyout when they were about 5,500 people and they sold out to Serco, which is what actually then put me into the world of doing it myself with some people. And I was a COO of a company for 6.5 years and then went completely out on my own, which is where the Verity Centre was set up. And it was I thought very carefully about the name of it and that it had meaning, and it means truth and principle, because it's one of the things that I've always looked at and I have very high integrity, which, like earlier, me saying I won't promise not to work on a Saturday, because the fact is that actually a promise means everything to me, down to the integrity part, is that if I promise you something, I will absolutely do it. So the whole philosophy and culture of the company had to be based on that. And our values come out of the name Verity. And the why, I think, is the most important because it means yourself. And it is about allowing your people to be the complete self and feel comfortable in their own skin. I wrote a post yesterday about why we calling performance management, and it should be called performance development, because we are talking about unique individuals and that we should be looking very carefully how we nurture and develop and guide people, not actually management is in your toolbox. Now and again you have to manage, but if you look after people in the right way, they go and do amazing things. So that's what we were all about. And we joined the ATM group last September, which has been a very exciting part of our journey. And we're very aligned on our beliefs and our culture and values. So this is the next part of the journey.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And Believe me when I say very honestly that I love everything about you. You're so smart, so sharp. You have such a versatile skill set. But the things that intrigues me the most about you is exactly your values and how you don't shy away from defend and communicate them, and you raise awareness about those values. And it's not like empty words for you. Like I've been working with so many companies that have their values or their mission, but it's like empty words that you put on the wall and nobody can relate, nobody's following them, and it means absolutely nothing. So even during our previous conversation, when we just get to meet each other and talk, you instantly struck me as, oh wow, that's a person that everyone should talk to because she knows her stuff, she can do stuff, she can really help you, and she is following through what she's saying to you. It's not just empty promises or blank phrases. So
What?
much.
Great. And probably one of the most honest people that you will ever meet. I can't lie. I'm no good at it. I lied once when I was about 13 and I was playing tennis in the street. I broke a window and my dad asked me if it was me and I said no, it wasn't. Anyway, he found out it was me. He stopped speaking to me for a month. But his last words to me before that was, and just looked at me and said, I am so disappointed with you. That is the last time I
Ooh.
lied because he was my hero. Absolutely. My John Wayne, massive hero. And I just went, no, I can't. And to put it like this, if I was lying, he would know I would go very red and look very stupid. So no. And I put everything on trust and values and honesty. And if other people don't want to be that way, that
Mm.
is completely up to them. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I agree with people being honest. We live in this world. We know that people aren't. So yeah, I'm very down to earth. And it's like I won't call myself an expert because every single person calls themselves an expert these days. I just hear every single place. And the ridiculous thing is, if everyone's an expert, then we have no experts.
Mhm.
Years ago, expert meant something. We had a small amount of people that were absolute experts that you would go to. The majority of people who call themselves experts, I wouldn't go to. My whole point is I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of knowledge. I have definitely become quite diplomatic, I've been told. And I'm quite, I'd like to think I'm quite wise about certain things, but I have no problem with talking about reality. And I think a lot of people talk about idealism, and what you have to do is put the factual information in front of you and make the right judgment. And I think that's definitely a problem out in the industry at the moment, is we all kind of wonder why there is such a problem with our customer experience, considering that there's so many experts out there that all have
And
their point about what should be done. If we've got all these experts, why are we in such a problem then? Or maybe
Poof.
it should be that some companies look are looking down the wrong avenue and stop using the big, huge consultants out there and actually go and find people who know what they're talking about, who have been successful at it, and to be honest, have rolled up their sleeves and done it themselves and really appreciate what they're doing. And I know quite a load of people out there who are amazing and that can do things like that.
Cheers to that. I don't know where to start because this one is one that's so tricky, so sensitive. But let's lay out the topic out there. Have you ever been in a position, or do you have any kind of stories that if you have been in a company that would like to introduce a workforce management solution, or any type of approach to resource management that you're getting the wall from HR perspective?
Yeah, many,
No, sir, many.
many. I think it's really difficult. There's some absolutely fabulous HR departments out there. There's also quite a lot of HR departments. I'm not going to say that they don't have the capability and skill. That's nothing to do with it. It's more to do with the control that they want to have on running the company. But that goes back into what we discussed last week of silo-based organizations. The difficulty, we all know a company, whatever touches the customer is the operational element.
Yeah.
That is the heartbeat of an organization. And nice and simple, the actual cog in a wheel. Or what I was going to discuss earlier that I went off and going, which is to do with the central hierarchy. And the central hierarchy is about the fact of taking it away from the hierarchy. And that's what you don't want in silo-based organizations, that you have functions that become hierarchical and they perceive that they run their departments and they make the decision on how the company actually runs. Where central hierarchy is, and the best example is an orchestra. When I was in any company and being the leader, I perceived myself as the conductor. I was there to wave it around and bring everyone together from a very central hierarchical point of view, very team orientated, to get them all playing absolutely beautiful music. And then you all succeed, because in an orchestra, every section has to play its part. Otherwise, the music's crap. But every section comes together to be part of that overall team. They play absolutely beautiful music. The problem is in silo-based organizations that you have a HR department that perceive that they run the company and that they become very risk adverse, and they start dictating to the C-suite on what you should do about absolutely everything. And they come up with certain things that you will just shake your head at. And in a company that I used to be in, and basically I worked there for a while, went away, I came back as a consultant, and I remember sitting down with the HR and they had a massive problem to do with a person. And I was asked to take a look at it, and I looked at it and went, right, okay, this is being managed totally incorrectly. And I sat down with them and they did some law stuff to me because of my background. And I have headed up HR by being things like COO and that type of thing, is the ops director. And I've led a lot of those things. And basically, I said to them, what you've just spouted to me is not law. When they went, oh, yeah, it's legal. I went, no, it's not legal at all. I said, so what you're doing is putting in process and policy for you guys, not what is actually legal in our country and how we can act. So basically what you're doing is moving us so far away from the legal line that you've now made this particular situation that we're discussing commercially not viable, and we're ending up paying a load of money because you haven't wanted to manage the situation. So this is what I found with a number of HR teams, that they will come up with things and I just sit there and shake my head and go, not actually true. That's not the legal stand in the country. And I follow all the time, and I make sure that I'm updated on everything that is going on, whether it's on the HR side or GDPR and compliance side. And there's your difficult. I could spend the next 10 hours going through so many different situations where HR have made it commercially difficult And when you bring workforce management in, there's always the part of, yeah, you can't hold that information in there because it's personal. And it's like, right, okay, do we have a HR system? Yes, we do. Integrated with that. Yeah, but you mean that people in your department can see information about us? Okay, only give them access to their names. Oh, no, we can't do that because GDPR won't let them. And it's like, GDPR does not stipulate that. If you're going to give them full information of their background and where they live, no, they can't have that information, but they can have their name. So I'm not sure what it's about. Is it a controlling thing? But I get very confused by why they are making it difficult, because also, again, going back to the central hierarchy and the orchestra and also the cog in the wheel, is things like compliance and HR and IT are there to facilitate everything being done correctly within the law. That's it. They are not there to make the final decisions. They're part of the decision, and they are there to be able to, especially in HR and compliance, tell you exactly what the law is. And then it is up to the other appropriate people to make the right judgment with them part of the team. So as you can see what I'm saying, I'm not saying that HR should not be part of this. What I'm saying, they should be team players. What they shouldn't be doing is dictating. They should be giving you accurate information to allow you to make an informed decision. And my problem, what I've seen in places over a number of years, is that they work on the perception that you don't know. So what they're giving you is their policy of what they want, not actually what always the law is. And I find that's quite difficult because I want people around me that we can't know everything, can we? It's the whole point is that I can't know every single law in the blinking country, and we don't want to work like that. We want to be part of a team. We want to use other people's knowledge and experience. So what
Yeah.
you hope is to have a team that is facilitating the right information for you and not actually following what they actually want and their opinion.
Right. Oh gosh, where do I start with that even? I would admit I have a very critical and extreme opinion on this topic. And let me take a step back and mention that likewise, I had and still am fortunately working with absolute incredible HR professionals. And this conversation is not to say that they suck and we don't like them. No, it's not about that at all. It's about the fact that in many companies, unfortunately, HR is perceiving themselves as the ultimate decision maker
Yeah.
about absolutely everything that operations should be doing. And I can only comment on the workforce management part because that's where my expertise and strength is. What I have seen is beyond ridiculous in situations. So in workforce management, we work with very limited set of information about the employees only for the purposes of creating their schedules and saying to them or creating what they should be doing for their daily work. That's all. And we need to have very limited set of information, location, name, email address, and how many hours per day you work and what can you do, right? Whether you do that in Excel, whether you do that in WFM2 ABC, whether you do that in paper, the information that you require is the same. Now, if you want to do a very good planning, I actually insist my planners to be familiar with the law that's impacting um, scheduling data.
Yeah.
So not to abuse the breaks, not to make sure how many hours per day you can schedule these people. If they have some kind of special conditions in place, we need to ensure they are compliant. What I have very hard time with is if we would like to introduce a process, a new ways of working, if we want to schedule more flexibly or we want to introduce WFM system, the number one thing that we start off with, we need to ask HR. We need to make sure HR are happy. Then we start having those kind of months-long conversations with HR where they're very important and they need to say, yes, you can do that. No, you can't do that. Send us all the information. Decide on A, decide on B, decide on C. And then you actually realize that they have no information about the law. That
Can I ask you a question then?
absolutely.
Just something that you said.
Mm-hmm.
They said that we have to go to HR to make them happy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I find that a really weird thing for
Mm-hmm.
anyone to say. The
Mm-hmm.
whole point would be is we need HR to work with us through this.
Yes.
They will hold information and we can integrate workforce management with the HR system. But to be honest, a lot of people's workforce management system is part of HR systems these days anyway, so there shouldn't problem. It's just a tiny bit of access. But the concept of we need to make them happy, no, they're there to be part of the team and guide you on
Yes.
the law to
Help.
make it go. You guys feel comfortable that you are doing everything on a regulatory basis, and it's
And
not
we're
about making HR happy.
But the reality is that that's exactly how a lot of companies operate, which is the sad part, which is why I'm so annoyed and irritated, which is why so many companies actually have poor results. The one thing that troubles me deeply is when we kick off those conversations about we're growing, we're scaling up, we need to introduce a system to allow for that growth to take place because business is heading to direction A. We are actually supposed to ask for permission for HR, and HR have a bigger say than your contact center manager here. How is that even possible? You're gathering different stakeholders. Those different stakeholders can assess the business case, and they need to ensure we're compliant to rules and regulations. And if you are compliant, I don't understand how we can drag these conversations for a certain group of people to say, we're not happy with that or we're not happy with this. And the amount of time when I have seen poor operational results simply because you have enabled a group of people to decide based on nothing to be the decision makers is ridiculous. It's beyond me.
It's actually, I think, quite fascinating is how any company, and I think this is where companies are having problems, is where you allow people to rule the place on opinion. Because the whole point is we all have opinions on so many different things, and sometimes we're wrong, sometimes we're right. What you have to do is lead a company, and leading is about bringing a bunch of people together and utilizing their skill sets to support. And the whole point is that, as an example, with the contact center, so let's the AI part of it, don't worry about that at the moment. Let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about people. So you've got 100 people, okay? Let's say, because it's simple. And they are rotated from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week, okay? As you said, we used to do this on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did spreadsheets. And then we got workforce management systems. And the whole point is that it's very simple. As you said, you have a person and you have a location. You don't need a full address. So you know they need, to be honest, if you want to throw it into the air and actually make it very compliant, use the three words thing. You could actually, HR could actually, oh God, I've never thought about this. This could be ingenious. So in a HR system, you'd have their address. If you had three little words attached to it, all they would need to do is give you the three words. So your whole workforce management system could, on understanding where they're all coming from with direct information without having to know their address at all. That is really quite. Oh, sorry, I just had there's a moment of just wow, and you would have a pinpoint of exactly knowing how long it took them to get into work, how they came into work, from just three little words, and so no attachment to address at all, which is really, really simply done. But the whole point again, they are there to, when you are the contact center manager, what you want is, because you are running that, I think everyone forgets in places, especially BPOs, service industry, okay? You could basically get rid of all the functionalities around the support functions, and you could still run the operation, because all you do is people within the operation, you get to do those roles. In a BPO, you get rid of the operations, you don't have a business. So it gives you clarity completely in a BPO, and it should do, doesn't always. That the fact is that your whole business is about those people because they touch your clients' clients. Well, let's go out of them into corporate. All of the people on the phone are still the heart of the company because they touch your customers. The people who write the journeys for those have to take it into consideration, that person on the front line, and how simple the journey is because they touch your customer. So it's going back to the fact of everything should be written from a point of what you want to get out of it completely. And your biggest thing is you want a hug. You want to maybe not kiss your client or your customer, but that's what you want to do. Hug them, make them feel very, very special. If they ring in, you answer their question and it's done. So HR, compliance are there to facilitate that happen. So if a customer contact center manager is moving from Excel, which probably they had all the names in anyway, and no one's arguing about that, you move into a workforce management system that basically you're putting in the same information that you had on the spreadsheet.
Sorry for interrupting you. Just to mention one aspect that we're not discussing about is it's even better for your employees when we're making those changes often, because then we're empowering them to have more control over their schedule. So rather than make it very difficult for them to go ask person A, B, and C, can I swap my shift? They're able to do that immediately with another agent. They can do it even when they're home. But then we're saying, oh, we can't really introduce a system because HR and
Okay, I can throw in a great argument you can use in the future. All these people we're talking about that we need to do workforce management for all have logins, don't they, for the telephony and CRM. So as HR, this is what my conversation, so HR. So are you telling me that basically our IT department cannot have names of people to give them logins because there's no difference whatsoever? How far do you actually want to take it? Because it's a name. John Smith, Rachel Jones, Marianne Withers. It's a name. It goes into system. And basically, my God, if you use my three little words, absolutely brilliant. You know exactly where they're going to get their bus and everything, but you don't know their address. But you have to have all of those informations to be able to give people logins, logins that are going in cloud situations. So where's HR's argument to that?
And you know what, to make it absolutely crystal clear, we're not saying that there should be a disregard toward data privacy. I just think it should be a rather much quicker exercise that, okay, this is what we're gathering and this is how vendors work, to be honest. That's why I'm so confused about sometimes those lengthy discussions. This is what the solution consists of. This is the data that we're gathering. those are the parallels with your current Excel or paper and the solution. Are we compliant? Yes, we are. And in my opinion, there is the conversation stopping. Like, what is it else that we need to?
Irina, it's a control thing. It's nothing that. And your point is, I am, and if God, anyone who's known me over the years, I am one of the most compliant people that you can meet because it goes with my honesty and all that. But the whole point is, this is the line of the law. You should be working as close to the line of the law as possible, but always on the positive side, doing everything absolutely. What you don't need to be is over here, because that becomes uncommercial for. It's just not viable for some of the things that people to bring in. Also to elongate it. It's a really simple thing, as I say. I've studied and gone through GDPR, and I've had quite a number of hearty discussions with organizations whose HR departments have stipulated, no, you can't, and they're compliant. And I've sat down with them and gone through it and gone through the law and gone and then taken it and highlighted it and given to them, and then they backed down. My whole point is I will protect anyone and everyone. My point of this is that follow the law, do it legally, but that is what you're there to do, is to be able to, again, not be difficult and challenging to you and elongate it. They are supposed to be there. And again, bringing the whole point, I've worked with some absolutely outstanding HR teams, but a lot of HR teams there are challenges with, and they seem to like the control that basically we have to sign it off. It has to pass through us. And my whole point is, no, you should be part of the team and you should facilitate the answers. If we ask questions, then give us precise legal information for us to make the right judgment. They're not supposed to be there to make decisions on it. They're supposed to be there to give you the precise information that together you can make the right decisions. So stop making it difficult.
Love that so much. And maybe before we wrap up, I just want to throw one example that's unfortunately so often in organizations. I keep on saying, currently we're talking a lot about contact centers, but you know what? WFM is basically everywhere, whether you're in healthcare, retail, banking, what have you. You are usually on the verge of being understaffed or being understaffed. So attrition is high, the pay on frontline is not the best. There are a lot of pressure, a lot of challenges. So what happens is that you introduce kind of static schedules that serves you nothing because your coverage then sucks big time. You start losing customers, you start decreasing service level, increasing backlogs, what have you. And you start the conversation, okay, from workforce management perspective, we need to be more flexible. We need to spread our resources, which is what you're saying about, is that legal? Yes, that's legal. You can create different shifts that are basically compliant to different set of rules. But we can't because they've always worked these shifts. So we need to recruit more. Then you don't have a business case. Then your cost is skyrocketing. Then you start sacking people. Then you start losing customers. So that's what your decision about not allowing us to create flexible schedules leads to.
Okay. Again, the law doesn't actually stipulate that because you can. However, you need to follow the right process. Anything like this is about a process of doing it. If you will use the word consultation, in this country, there is an automatic view that you're talking about redundancy. Okay? No, it's not. Anything to do with structural change in a company, you go through a consultation process. Okay? So if you want to change the rules to do with what people are being voted on, what you do is do a consultation. And so you bring everyone in and then you talk to them about what you want to do. And the fact is, then you go through having individual conversations, or if there's too many people, they'll be led by a group. All the same, it's exactly the same process, but it's about change. And the whole point is that you go through that because this is what you're going to do. And people will get given the chance to come forward and be able to go, maybe if you did it this way and that way, and you look at all the things and options and all that. And then after a while, you get to, because you structure it, how long it's going to take, you go, actually, no, we are making this change and this is what's going to happen. And you might have some people leave the company over it because some people may not agree. However, it's then legally done completely. So the whole point is that there is no law that stipulates you can't change actually anything in the structure within an organization. What you just have to do is follow the rules and law of how to do it correctly. And it's also in those meetings about getting their buy-in and giving them clear understanding why this needs to happen. So I can give you an absolute example of this, I think it's a good example. So a number of years ago, I was asked to go and help a site. It was in this big group that I was doing work with, and they had about 350 people in their contact centers. And it was mainly outbound. And let's say that they had a very low contact rate and their conversion was very low, which is why I was brought in, and the contact center manager said, I really need help on doing this and seeing what the problem is. So I looked at the problem, and first of all, especially at that stage when 98% of your staff are working 9 till 5:30. I can tell you that's one big problem. Then there was like data management and how it was being analyzed, how it was being segmented, how it was running in the dialer. But one of the biggest areas was that the majority of people 9 till 5:30. Now, considering we're talking about around 2012, around, it was very clearly that we could ring, because also we were ringing our clients' customers. This was retention. It was renewals. So we could ring them if we wanted till 9 o'clock at night. Also, because it was our clients' customers, we could also ring them on a Sunday. Oh, and on a Saturday. On a Saturday, we could probably do 9 till 6. Looking at that, one, they weren't doing a Saturday. They weren't doing a Sunday, but to be honest, I don't really like the Sunday outbound anyway. Got to have one less day. And basically, as I say, it was mainly there. So I put my kind of proposal through and said, I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing any 9 o'clock shifts, but what we should be is from 9 o'clock. And I said, we won't go as far as 9. I said, I think we should do it till 8 o'clock in the evening. And what we should do is rotate over that. On a Saturday, I said, I'm not going 9 till 6 either. I think it should be 10 o'clock till 4. So I put the proposal together and looked at it, and it was all agreed. Yes, that would be the way to go. So we just followed the law, because HR through us completely can't do that. Completely can't. They've been working these shifts for all of this time. So I sat there and did what I do normally and made a poignant remark, which was, it's fine. I don't know what law in the land you're looking at. However, it's not the case. We can do that, but we'll go into that in a moment. Let's look at the main point first. We don't do this. We do not make the change. You are about to lose 300 outsourced seats because the client will pull it. You should be doing double the amount of work and conversions that you're getting. And it is down to completely how it is being managed and run. So HR went away, came back and went, and your point about the law, Marianne? And I just went, yeah, so my point about the law is I can do this. This is about a consultation, going this through, bringing everyone together, blah, 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 blah. What I said to you earlier. They went away, came back and went, yeah, Marianne's completely right. So we went ahead, we did all the stuff, we made all the changes. We actually didn't lose that many people, because also the fact is that we rotated it very, very well and used our lovely workforce management team to be able to do it. I cross-analysed it because I did it on spreadsheets, cross-analysed with what they did, and it showed very, very clearly it was working very nice within the system, what they've brought up. And we made all the changes, and I'm not joking, once we made the changes, listen to this, within 1 week, we had doubled the decision maker rate and doubled the conversion.
I think that explains it all. Literally, that's a brilliant wrap to this conversation. And thank you so much for joining me, because honestly, this is one of the most sensitive topics, and the one that I think a lot of us can relate to, because it's a recurring theme of control, maybe, as you mentioned. And again, maybe this is just our scream for support from the HR teams, and to be a part of the team and a part of the solution, rather to be in the way of the solution. So thank you so much, Marianne, for this conversation. I can't wait to have you back and to share more of your knowledge with the listeners.
Absolutely loved it, Irina. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Irina Mateeva, founder of Right WFM, where we believe that every business and its people are unique and deserve the right solution to their challenges. If you need support with workforce management, we're just a message away. Get in touch at irina@rightwfm.com or info@rightwfm.com. If you like the content and would like to support the show, please subscribe to WFM Unfiltered on your favorite podcast platform, leave a review, and follow me on LinkedIn. You can also show some love to our great sponsors. For more information about them, check out the episode notes. This is your place for real WFM, so to suggest guests or topics, get in touch at irina@rightwfm.com. See ya!